All right, I think we are live and ready. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Miles Bergen, and today we are back for another chart stream. Today, exciting days. Okay, we're going lower and lower. I will immediately address quiet tonight. Exactly. I don't know what's happened. Last chart stream, and this stream, nobody on YouTube. I don't know what's going on. So hey, I mean, it is what it is. There's some people on Binance Square. Obviously, we're on both Binance Square and YouTube tonight. So, yes, hello to everybody. Hopefully, you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty fandabidozy. Let's go and start timer, okay? Because again, professional hour. You know, see, double entendre there. Professional hour. We're doing our professional hour, okay? So I think we should get straight going. Okay, I don't have anything to shill or say. I think we're back on Wednesday. By the time I'm actually using this stream as a test. I just closed it then. I was using this stream as a test to make sure the Binance Square chat was being imported properly. I got the go ahead from the officials at Binance to say yes, you can do this. This is very cool. So you know, we're safe and sound in that regard. Binance Square has been integrated into or has been majoritively, maybe 95% integrated into the game. I just wanted tonight to test to make sure the chat was going in, and it works fine. So by next Wednesday, which obviously is only in today, tomorrow, and then the next day after, which is obviously Wednesday, so inclusive of 2 days, whatever, we have another quiz, and hopefully we can integrate both, because I did integrate Twitch, but we didn't have it running. We might be able to integrate everybody. Twitch, YouTube, and Binance Square. So people on Binance Squareans, be happy, rejoice. If you're someone who's been on the quiz and you've gone, I want to play, but I don't want to leave Binance Square. Well, opportunity has arisen. You can play, which is brilliant. So that should be good on Wednesday. That's the only thing I have to say. But keeping the intro short. I mean, it depends. Obviously, a minute and a half intro might be considered long for a stream like this. Might be considered short. I don't know. Either way, we're on Coinglass on liquidations. 580 million total. Both kind of sitting in the middle. We have long and short liquidation sitting kind of neck and neck there. Pretty hefty liquidation. Obviously, we are going towards 80, or we are below 87, I believe. Again, we've started a nice tumble downwards again, which we talked about last stream, which nobody was on. Which is fine. Obviously, we can just talk about it again. So we're doing, I think, of that, we're doing pretty well. I think, I don't know what price we are now, actually. Actually, I can see my top by 88.43. I swear to God, maybe we're going up again. I can't remember. But either way, we'll talk about it. And I think we've done well pretty much across the board. For what we talked about, we basically had a big retracement. And then that fed into another big retracement. And obviously, as of late, we had a retracement now going up again, which we talked about last stream. So that's good. We're going to talk about that on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and then obviously go on to Syrup and whatnot. But before we go into CoinMarketCap, I want to quickly look at the market calendar just to see what's going on. So this is today, Monday, the 26th. There's nothing really going on. There's probably this 28th, potentially. Could be interesting to look at, I suppose. But other than that, there's not really much going on. So maybe something on Wednesday, but whatever. Let's go to CoinMarketCap. We can see Bitcoin 88.3 right now. I think we were sub 87. I swear to God, it was like 2 seconds ago. Maybe I'm misremembering. 7 day down 5%, up 1.25 in 24 hour. Again, we are having a big retracement now, which we talked about. Obviously, we'll talk about it again when we go onto the charts in just a second. 88.3 though is the current price for Bitcoin. Ethereum 2972, 3% up on the 24 hour. So I think it's kind of the same story. I think today's going to be quite an easy stream because it's kind of the same story just across every chart. And obviously, we've got our stuff for, oh yeah, ignore this shirt, actually. I should probably hide that. We should, what was I going to say? Yeah, crypto.com's Chronos, which I'm hiding right now. These charts and Syrup are different stories, so obviously we'll go over them. But again, like I said, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana chart is pretty unanimous, which is quite nice to talk about. Anyway, going to Syrup, let's see what we're doing. Up. I don't know what course that is. I think that might be what's that going to be? Well, this is the 4 hour. This is within the same day. So if we measure this, it's about a day. So that would have been a 7.5% move up on the day, I think. I think that number is on CoinMarketCap. So pretty good. But again, we don't really care about that. We know what we're doing, okay? We know what we're doing. So that's Syrup, whatever, fine. Crow, fine. We wanted a retracement. I don't know what time frame this is on. Where are we? I don't know where we got to because we were talking about. I think it was something back here actually. It was something ages ago. Let's go to the week. Basically, we were talking about this area back behind us. If there was going to be anything, because again, Crow has been absolutely because this whole move, this wasn't Crow. Okay, and we've talked about it. I will obviously talk about it in a normal chart when we go to the actual trading view charts in a bit. But this move, this entire thing wasn't really crypto. I keep saying crypto.com. Crow's it's fundamental faults, if you will. This was all kind of Trump and stuff, and the American government at the time. You know, there's a bunch of things. I mean, we had this massive pump because it was adding to the Kronos was getting heavily integrated within the government, their crypto strategies and whatnot. So that was a massive pump, and then we had a small pump on the way down, which lasted about 7 seconds, because Crow was a reward for the diamonds on Truth's network. I think that's Trump's thing. I can't remember. But Truth Social, Truth Network, whatever it's called, the diamond rewards were being, you can convert it to Crow or something like that. I don't know what the system was. We pumped for like 2 seconds, and that's it. That's the history of Crow. And ever since I've been going down. It's you know, it's sad, but we've had this 3 other times. Again, we'll go onto it. We will go onto it. Let's just go to the chart. Okay, let's go to the chart. So. Messy chart, horrible, disgusting, ugly. You know what? Let me hide this for now so we can talk about it a bit easier. Because I've switched to this, and I don't know. I still don't know if I like it. I like it, but I still don't know if I like this theme because I came back from the trip after not looking at the charts on a monitor, on this monitor anyway, for a long time, and then I came back to the light mode, and I hissed at this. Go, oh, that's bright. So I understood your pain even more. Obviously, the people who didn't like the light mode. But now that I'm doing the charts again, I don't feel like I can conceptually. I don't feel like I could absorb what's going on, as opposed to the black and green candles which we had a long time ago. I can't comprehend it. I don't know what's going on. There's something going on. I might go back. I don't know. I might need to do some more test runs with the colours. Okay, so we might see this changing. Maybe I do another light mode, but I do different colours where people can see it better. I don't know. Okay, I'll work on it. But maybe I do a less garish white, and I do it maybe like a blue, like a Grove Box yellow type of like a yellow white, so it doesn't blast your eyes. I might do that because I can't. It's not the same. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys get this. I don't know if you guys do dark mode or light mode. It doesn't feel the same. I can't get the same sort of feeling from this chart, so I don't know. I might change it back. I'm not sure. Either way, we can talk about the chart. So I'm going to talk about this. I want to talk about this without the lines on, because again, maybe it's me, my brain. I just can't really look at it properly. We were talking. Basically, we had this down move, and then we had this proper move. And I think our conversation last stream was the fundamental difference between a low like this and major low, like actual major, like we had the major lows, like I don't know the best way to describe them, but you can see them. You can clearly see like where. Oh, God, that scared me. That actually scared me. That scared me. Looking at that, all those lines appearing at the same time, that actually scared me. But the difference between a low like this and then the major lows. So basically, what we did was we just drew the most recent high to low of this down move from this high. And that's what we talked about. We did the high to the low, but above this, coming up to here, and then coming down again. We're in a downtrend, okay? It is what it is, whatever. And that's what we talked about. So not really too much to talk about. Again, we're going to talk about the same thing. And obviously the idea that, okay, well, if we are going to continue this, we want to draw this to high, this low, and come up somewhere here and whatnot. But we want to look at what's actually going on within this and look at the daily, more importantly, because the daily, you can see it will be just some lows here. I would consider this a considerable low, and I would consider this considerable high, and I was printing past this low here, and I was not really having too much of a retracement. So whenever we hit our support, which obviously could be anywhere, we're going to talk about in a minute. I don't know. I don't want to do this because it's really ugly. It's really ugly. I don't know. I don't know. I need to switch the theme again. I think I really do. I know you feel I can't. Yeah, I don't know, because obviously the original theme on TradingView is obviously the green and red on the dark, and it is what it is. It's fine. And then I use that for a while. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's easier to look at a light mode chart because like if I just do this, like, look how horrible this looks, right? I think if this same chart, and I've had a chart look worse than this on light mode, but it's been easier to conceptually look at the chart because it's in light mode. I think I don't know, maybe black on white is better than white on, I don't know. But I mean, there's studies on this, to be fair, in terms of reading comprehension, that dark on light, I believe, is better than light on dark. So maybe it's that. I think my comprehension, I can't comprehend this as good as I normally can. I've been, ever since I've come back and I've changed my theme, I've been off. I've felt it. I've been off a bit, so I might change back soon. I don't know. I'll think about it. Either way. Let's actually talk about the charts. Okay, I'm yapping. So we had some lows back here. Our main lows were looking at this on the 4 hour. God, it's really ugly. I can't shake it. It's horrible looking at this chart. It's really horrible. Either way, we drew that high to the low here. We were looking, above this red line, basically, above this red line. We were talking about this having a rejection block. Obviously, we drew out some midpoints, and we had this as support for a while. Yes, we did have this as support for a while, but again, it can't trump what we're doing on the daily, on the 4 hour. What we're actually doing on the main time frame, which is this main resistance, and the idea that obviously we've come up and really hit into this weekly resistance. Obviously, this has been a lot stronger than, not assumed, but this has obviously been a strong resistance point. And yes, it was on the weekly, so that kind of makes sense, to be fair, because it is obviously a weekly resistance point. So it looks like it's worse than it's going to be, because obviously, if we had a 15-minute resistance on a weekly, it's not going to have the same effect as, a weekly resistance on a 4 hour. It has a bit more power, if you will. I don't know how the best way is to use it, but it's worse. Okay, it's worse. But anyway, regardless, this was a weekly resistance, this was a daily resistance, this was resistance on multiple time frames. Coming into this resistance and actually stopping the move upwards, which actually is pretty structurally sound, I think. If at any point we were going to stop going up or continue to go upwards until proven otherwise, it would have been this resistance, which obviously has been. We've obviously had a massive move down, producing this daily resistance. And obviously, we've looked at, I don't know where that stops at. Oh, yes, this was the previous. I can delete this now because we're not in the uptrend. I can delete this. Looking at this, so looking at coming back upwards. So on the daily, we haven't done that. And if at any point we would be doing this, obviously, we have actually printed past main low right now. So we've actually had our highs, higher highs and whatnot. We've done our uptrend, whatever. We've hit into that major weekly resistance and actually reversed through this whole thing going on, and we've printed through a major low, I would argue. I mean, if we look at just kind of the skeleton of the trend, I would argue it's kind of like this right now. You know what I mean? We've actually properly printed through that low, which is a good thing. Which, I mean, it's easier to look, it's easier to understand what's going on if we can see that. So upon doing that, it's then the idea that, okay, well, we don't have to immediately come back, because there's plenty of times where we've had major, I mean, obviously this relative to the time frame this is most appropriate on has only just happened, if you will, on the the weekly candles. Maybe you're going to the monthly candles even. This is obviously a shorter thing. So if you go to the monthly, like, you can see, like, okay, we've only just started to move back downwards into this whole shenanigan going on over here on the monthly. So again, it swings and roundabouts. It's all relative to the time frame you look at it on, but on the 4 hour we can see it. We can have these, or the daily I should probably do. We can have these absolute massive moves. But to be fair, we did actually come upwards to midline and have come off. So technically, if we go based on the trend we have on the daily, because again, what I'm conscious of when I look at lower time frames is the idea that we have our respective trend, and then the bias we have on higher time frames. And then biases we could have on the lower time frames, because again, the lower time frames can orchestrate if we're continuing a move or stopping a move. Obviously, the higher time frame determines where the major point of interest would be. So again, we can kind of going from up looking down is better than going from down looking up. So at the lower time frame is only really confirming what we're talking about on the lower time frames, but we need to pay. It's same story as if we looked at the 50-minute compared to the daily, or maybe the hour compared to the daily. Same thing with this in terms of looking at the daily. We can go up to the weekly and really pay attention to what we're doing. So on technicality, any time frame, let's go to weekly actually. So any time frame, this technically, again, this is the argument between major lows, because we can clearly see in the trend where the major lows are. So this is ages away. This one's up. This one's down. This is here. This is here. So we can tell. But it depends on if each and every small move here is a considerable low. I would consider the range to be this range, and us moving down, I would argue that this is the main low. This is the main high over here. So on the weekly time frame, in relation, we haven't had that downtrend. However, if we look at lower time frames on daily 4 hour, we are. So in terms of the idea that we have, go to the daily. The idea that we have each one of these moves, for example, we have this move here, which kind of brings us to equilibrium. We're just literally touching it, actually. And then same thing here, we've come to equilibrium. We don't have this massive retracement to previous areas of support. Again, you know, we go down until we have reason to stop going down. Same thing here, we have that high to a low. We come upwards above at least equilibrium. Find our resistance weekly as well, resistance and daily, and we come down. So, again, my mind has been shrouded by darkness. I need to go back to the light. We've hit this area. We want to look at lower and lower. But then this is my main point I was making, was we can look at this in its area, in its scale, and then we need to be conscious of the fact of what we're doing on the high time frames. And even though we might have resistance there, and we might, even though we're going down on the daily, and we've hit resistance and we're coming down, we should go below. We should go below 80,500. We need to be conscious of the fact that on the weekly, I believe we've still seen from the extreme low to extreme high, we haven't seen it go past any low, and we've been in an uptrend for a long time now. And we've continued to print higher, and in this move we've done a massive high. We've printed a very nice high. So on the breakdown, for example, on the breakdown here, like we have a high, we have a low here with a high, we print down, so technically, this is a downtrend, but then we go upwards. So I would argue, even here on the weekly, we had this whole ass downtrend, and this is probably a bit more obvious, to be fair, than these ones, for example, in terms of an actual main downtrend. And we did technically print past one of these like major lows, and we did have a fail to print higher, so we, whatever. But we still have the concept of the main low to the main high. We didn't print past a main low. So if the argument is the main low is here, whatever. Obviously, in this case, it's like, well, technically the low should be here. So if we look at it there, in terms of the actual main, like a major low, it should be here. It depends. Again, if we go to the monthly, we'll see it more of a straight line, to be fair. But in terms of what we actually do, I would argue the trend we start doing here, there was not really a major high we had in this regard. We could potentially argue this is the high or one of these highs over here. So in terms of a high being broken past, this is different because, again, slightly different because we hadn't really started the uptrend yet. But if we look at this, a high to a low, a high and a low again, this is, I would argue, a decent high, if you will. So from there, we only really print past this. You can see we have a bit of difficulty getting up to that high and wicking past it. We can see a bit of resistance. We have some support on the way upwards. And then this is when we break up and start the uptrend, when we can then look at the most recent low to most recent high, retracement to go higher, most recent low to most recent high, trend below equilibrium, go higher, most recent low to most recent high, pretty deep below equilibrium. So then again, this is where I can see the valid argument being of, it doesn't have to be a touch below equilibrium before we go upwards, but it's anywhere within that lower end below equilibrium, at least. Again, we can go a lot deeper than where we are right now. We can go as deep as coming past 76k. We can go towards 76ks and still be in validity to go higher, for example. So if we looked at this void area, I don't know why this is black. Let's make it this. It's just horrible. I'm going to go back to light mode, I think. I'm going to make a new theme and make it go light mode, I think. It's just not nice. It's just really not nice. It's not nice looking at this. But if we look at the void being between these two down close candles in this massive move upwards, this is more of a void. This is kind of the overarching, and this is probably just the fair value gap on the higher time frames anyway, but whatever. So this is a whole range here. This is a whole thing going on, coming towards 80k as well, which actually technically below that low, so there's validity there. We have that support in this range here, which can go anywhere towards the 78k range down there. We can even wick past the major low. And maybe this is cope. Maybe like, if we've gone past 74.5 by now, then it's over. But for me, it's more about that print. Obviously, we can have change in state where if we print past 78.4, that is valid as well as, okay, this is really bad. But obviously, we've had times where I've looked at gaps which have been reused multiple times, and this still sits between 80k and 73k. So we still have support. We still have areas of support potentially. So we can go towards these areas. We do have a potential support point here. Obviously, we have talked about the main gap area we've had for a long period of time now, which we haven't printed below yet, which is obviously the main point here, where we've seen it print at the low and gone back upwards, even up towards 98k. We've actually printed once more at this low, and we're sitting here. So this is now, I think, a very big, very, very big turning point, where if we do start to print, if we have this retracement and we continue to go downwards, which again we can back up with what we're doing on the lower time frame, so the same thing here, we need to look at top down. You don't hear bottom up, do you? You never hear go from the 1 second to the 1 minute to the 5 minute. If you're ever anywhere online and look at trading stuff, you always hear, top down analysis. I believe, I might be wrong on the terminology, I believe it's literally just going from higher time frame to lower time frame and paying attention to points of interest all the way on the way downwards, and using the lower time frames in conjunction with higher time frame points of interest to find out what we're doing and have to trade it. So we can go to the lower time frame and see what resistance we have and support we have on the lower time frames. But as of on the weekly, what do we have? Well, for me, the current criteria is, yes, we do have this rejection block which we have used previously. We have just wicked past a low here, which is, it's okay to go back upwards, which you can see we're doing. Obviously, on the lower time frames is in a bit more detail. But what we really have here is, if we do print past this major low, which I talked about ages ago when we hit it, back in when I first started streaming again, probably start of January, when my last stream was, or my first stream of this year anyway. The main thing being printing, as long as we don't print past that major low, we're still in this area and we still have validity to continue to use its support. And again, the area of criteria here is, we didn't print past this. I don't care if we print past this on the 5 minute or 50 on the 1 hour. It's a weekly area relative to the weekly price action. So that's the main thing there. So on the weekly, if we do print past this low, that is a big factor, which then means this is now resistance. So we can look at the midpoint kind of. We can look at somewhere in the midpoint, let's say, as resistance. We can go to the lower time frame and find smaller and smaller resistances, which are more accurate, which is another thing I sometimes do. But sometimes I just smack it in the middle and just go, there you go. But obviously the overlap here, which might be interesting, is the idea that we have this inverted, what could be an inverted gap if we do continue to print downwards. Midpoint at 89.7, we do have this small gap we're trying to currently form on the weekly, which could sit midpoint round about the same area, about 89.5. So we have potential to form resistance on the weekly if we are to do that. So the only way I can formulate if we are going to do that is obviously go to the low time frames and actually really look at what we're doing. And this whole area down here on the weekly is support as well, which I have talked about previously. So I think I already drew a salad, didn't I? It's this range. I don't know what this. I don't know why is that there. I don't know why the midpoint's there. I think it's because I just drew the whole thing, like the whole range from the high to the low of this move before going upwards. I don't think I should do, actually. I don't know why that lines. Oh no. I know what it is. It's a lower. I think it's like a lower time frame support. I should probably label these things a bit better. Yeah, it's lower time frame support. Oh, on the daily, I think it was. Yeah, the daily. Okay, cool. I was confused then. Anyway, same thing. That's a good example of what I was talking about. Where on the weekly, this is the range of support. So we know this is a valid area on the higher time frame. But going to the lower time frame, it helps to add confidence in the idea that this is actually a strong support point or an area which could be support. Because if you just have this random support on the 5 minute and it isn't anywhere else in any other time frame, the strength of that isn't going to be kind of united. Which actually, to be fair, in retrospect, is very good. A very good idea on this, because again we have this main weekly gap with resistance which we didn't get to, and on the daily, which kind of zooms in a bit more as to that resistance, is the weekly and daily both have an overlap of where that resistance is. So I suppose it adds sort of confidence, if you will, in my books anyway, in my non-financial advice. That's my opinion anyway. So the only thing, so that's kind of a bit of a wider term advice conversation part for Bitcoin, I suppose. I don't know how best to word that. But now I want to go to really the 4 hour, quickly look at what we are doing in this range with context of what we have potentially doing on the weekly. And then we can go to Ethereum, Solana, SERP, and Crow and whatnot. Let me read the chat though quickly, which might not have anything going on because, it's a quiet night tonight. Let's see. I'm not going to follow for follow. Need support. I'm not giving you money. Gosh, where is it? It's weird because ever since last stream, it's gone from we've had a lot of people on YouTube and Square and punched the wall really hard, hit it, and you know, it's just dry. It's dry, which is fine. It's fine. I don't mind. Yeah, it's fine. Either way, yeah, well, I'm still gonna be here. Yeah. So back to topic. The 4 hour, like I was talking about, we had that low which I marked out, which we cancelled on the daily, which we have here, which we've kind of come below. Haven't printed below it yet, which obviously would be very, very big if we did print below it. And then obviously coming back upwards from that low to find somewhat of resistance in what could be. I'm going to move this range down now, which is what kind of makes sense. Move the range down now to about here. Kind of shimmy it across. You can see we're actually getting up towards this area already. It's a very small range. It's not very expansive. It's a smaller range than what it was over here. You can see we definitely kind of hit a wall, which makes sense. We had this area, we had this balanced price range here, which you can see we were coming down in absolute travesty, and then boink, just hit this wall for a bit, and obviously now we've finally got past it because again, you know, XYZ reason we had this we had the support turn resistance, which you can see we kind of came into, I suppose it could be an idea. We obviously had the high to a low expansion upwards, finally hitting above that to a valid amount, I suppose, because again, this hadn't hit that low yet. We had the low to a high. We hadn't hit equal. You can see here, for example, we hadn't hit equilibrium, so we're still valid to go down. We haven't, you know, or we, you know, it wasn't a confirmation, so we ignore it. And then obviously we continue to do our thing, finally hitting that low, whatever. So we can ignore this little peak there. We didn't quite hit. Actually, let me get this bit proper. Bit more proper. So we kind of hit it there, but we didn't really have much. What do we have, you know, actually paying attention to here? Well, we missed this resistance with that low. We have all these highs we didn't really get past. I think within this one, we had a massive move past all these highs here, coming from about 90,500 and into this resistance area here. And then, yeah, we kind of just came down from there. It's kind of what it is. On the daily as well, we did have this daily gap as well. So, again, confluence there. We kind of came to the midpoint of this resistance. If I draw it properly, actually, you can see we actually pretty much got to the exact midpoint of this area here for this gap. So that's kind of confluence as well. We have the daily gap. We have a 4 hour order block on this gap. We have all these highs which we're producing in this kind of consolidatory range. So we had a lot of kind of stuff going on there for a valid high to then move downwards. Perfect. But again, you know, the speed in which we went down is definitely slower. We then hit past most of these lows here. Again, of all these lows, this is the major low here. We also had this gap back here, which we hadn't really seen too much of. But we actually had a balanced price range back here, which obviously you can see we've hit into quite nicely, printed, you know, above that midpoint, above the low anyway, and obviously start to come back upwards again. So hit an area where, again, continue to go down, or go downwards until proven otherwise, whatever the wording is exactly of my own. Yeah, it's probably not my own phrase. I don't know. I've probably found it from somewhere, but anyway. Obviously, then we've come down and hit into an area which has stopped us and then starts to come back upwards, which is what we want to do. We want to print past that previous low, which formed that range, and then continue to print past it. Like I said, go lower, whatever, and then find that lower high if we are continuing a downtrend. So again, like I said, this is obviously valid on the daily. This kind of period we've had, I've only just printed past this low. We do have a bit of support. We don't really have much in this price action from what I can see. Again, we could technically have, you know, kind of this whole kind of candle. It's very wicky in this whole area. If I just drew for the candle bodies to make it a bit more tighter, I suppose. We do have, you know, this, I suppose. We have these last down move before this start of this massive move upwards, which you can see if we draw out these candle bodies, you can see this is kind of us coming past these previous lows, having this final move down before we pump upwards and start to print past or change in state past these candle bodies, change in state before we come back down towards that midpoint and continue to go back upwards. So we do have somewhat of, we could see as support here. Is it going to be strong? Is it going to be, you know, stopping us forever and going back down, whatever? We could see it. What I will say though, in this move, is what started that print below that low, and you can see we didn't get past that midpoint there. So what I will say is, I could, if this is the low, or we go a bit lower towards, you know, for example, coming past some major lows at 84. This technically is support here, and we have come past a low, so we have hit a daily low. We have hit, or come past all these lows to hit this kind of daily significant low here. We've hit into this support area. So we do have somewhat of support on the daily as opposed to what we have on the 4 hour. So this could kind of stop us from going down and maybe going upwards relative to the daily. So then what do we have on the daily here? We could have potentially have a rejection block of resistance, which is already hit into this gap area once more. But if we really look at it here, we don't have much. And if we go to the weekly, actually, no, man, not really the weekly, to be fair, because we actually need to print it. But we could fulfill the rest of this expansive candle towards 90,130, which I don't know where that is relative to here. Not even anyway, actually, you know what? Ignore the weekly, completely ignore that. It's really just this. But if we look at the range on the daily anyway, being this, it's somewhere around about here towards 93. Do I think we can go to 93? If this is valid support, again, we'd have to look at some lower time frames to see if we are starting to reverse. And from what I can see so far, we've printed past a recent low. That's perfectly fine. In terms of resistance, yes, we could use, now that we've printed through this area, this could be resistance, and we are at an equilibrium, so I could expect to see that. I could still validly see it continue to go downwards, but I would like to see it actually kind of expand a bit more. And importantly as well, we do have this gap which we formed on the way downwards, which again, even though this is below that equilibrium, it would be nice if we to use an area above us, which again could be this midpoint, because again we have validly come past the equilibrium and hit into what could be an area of resistance at this midpoint at 88.8, whatever it is exactly. As long as we're not printing through that high here, this is still valid as well. This is still valid. So I guess we'll see how it goes. This is still a continuation of a downtrend, which is good. So yeah, but like I said, even though this could, doesn't have to necessarily be the be all end all of down move, we have printed past a major low on daily. We have had a lower high and a lower low. Whether we pay attention to trend the range or not, being from the major high to the major low. We still have printed lowers, which is good for momentum, if you will, on the downtrend. And this is on the daily, by the way. This isn't slowing down on the daily and doing fine on the lower time frames, because obviously that would be a different story. But we have printed past this low here. Obviously, wick past this low, so it makes sense kind of coming back up again. But yeah, we are coming down. But if I was to see anywhere recently, or if I was to give an opinion right now on if we can go up or down right now, of all what we had. And what we're doing, number one, us being we do, in theory, want to go up again, or it would be nice to see a major high, kind of coming back down to see a major move back upwards for this whole area here, coming back up towards somewhere over here. It would be nice. And again, if anywhere from what we have here, we do have potentially this as support. We obviously have just come past some of these lows down here, so there is potential to have this area being a slowdown point. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. But what I'll leave off with Bitcoin is reiterating what we talked about on the weekly. We do have us potentially wanting to come back upwards into this candle here, towards at least that low. And the major important thing being us nearing 86,494. If we were to print past that, that would be it could be good news if you want Bitcoin to go downwards. Very bad news if you don't want Bitcoin to go downwards, because that could be a concerning factor. Could be a very concerning factor, in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes with this. But yeah, my current outlook is this could be a bit bleak if we do print past this. But as we are sitting right now, even though this was a big resistance point, we haven't printed majorly past this main low at 80,660 on the weekly. So that is good. But again, if we continue a downtrend on lower time frames, that's what kind of passes it up, you know what I mean? So if we spend long enough doing having a downtrend on the 15, 30 minute, whatever, that'll eventually feed into the 4 hour and the daily. So, it's all relative. But yeah, I would want to see a bit of retracement from a what could potentially be a support area where we are right now. Again, weekly rejection block, support in these candles here, which we're kind of sitting at right now, and obviously coming past some of these lows, which could allow us to go back upwards. Not too much resistance. There is technically resistance. I'm looking at it. We are valid to go down, but yes, if we could, what would be a good scenario if we were to go upwards, or a good indicator if we do print past 88.3 and print past this gap? That's it could be a good scenario, or could make sense to go upwards. Printing past these expansions could be a sign of strength, or sign of we're getting a bit stronger to go back upwards, I suppose. But other than that, that's kind of really it from that. So yeah, in terms of some sort of change in state, we could potentially print past this 879 for these candles, which could show that we're kind of starting to go back upwards a bit more and go a bit faster. We'll see. We'll see. I suppose. Yeah, I suppose we're going to Ethereum now and looking at what we have on Ethereum. And again, this one, today's stream, obviously, I do want to talk more about what we could see in the future. But again, I do want to spend some time on looking at what we've already talked about. Again, these charts, I am going to probably go on. I do want to go on to light mode again, I think, because it's really not. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's the clothes I'm using. It's just naff. I've never really liked dark mode. Oh, I used to use it, and then I went to light mode. I went, this is a lot better, and then everyone started complaining to me because they couldn't read anything. And then I've now come to dark mode and realized I kind of missed the light mode because it's just a bit easier to look at, I guess. I don't know. Even though it is bright, and obviously if it's late and I'm tired and I'm looking at a bright screen, it could hurt my eyes. But I don't know. Maybe I'll make the white yellow, so it's kind of reversing the blue effect, which is what really hurts your eyes. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe. Anyways. Same story with most of this. Again, what we have on the daily is we are potentially in somewhat of support. We do have the daily starting that downtrend. So in terms of what the most recent daily high to low is, from printing this low, it's going to be that major high to major low, which means we would want to come up towards midpoint of these daily candles. So like we talked about on Bitcoin, comparing anyway, we had this major print, we have this. So even though we are in a downtrend in the 4 hour, we could start to continue downwards. If we do want to start an uptrend, we would need to be printing through gaps. We need to be printing higher and higher where we are. If we print through the chance I see right now on the 4 hour is us printing through that gap. If we can print through that gap, that is not a be-all end-all sign that we are going upwards, but a good sign that, okay, cool, we're starting to print through expansions on the way downwards. This is a good sign for us move upwards. But like I said, even though we have these ranges on the 4 hour, the main range we have on the daily right now is we have this uptrend. We have us printing through this low. We haven't had that. We haven't had that move back upwards, rebalance, recovery, retracement, whatever word you want to use, back up at least above equilibrium anyway, which could be sitting around. It's just a bit shy of this gap at 92. The high of this gap is basically equilibrium. What I would probably want to look at is bounce price range, maybe. So we have these two candles, to be fair, printing through this gap. But I think I'll just look at this lowest one for now. We have this gap here. We have this bounce price range from this expansion, and it gets printed through. Technically, this is an inverted gap here, so this whole area is valid. But in terms of what we definitely have a bounce price range in this area here, which again is above equilibrium and starts at about 92.9 here. So we could have that to look at potentially somewhere above here at 93k, I would say. So same story we have on Bitcoin as we have on Ethereum. Very ugly chart. Let me just hide it for now. So again, same story. We're coming below this low here, this massive expansion downwards. Wherever we might find support, and again, we can look at points of interest on higher time frames, which have more power over what we have on some other time frames, if you will. So what do we have on Ethereum? Well, we had some lows here, which we've already come past. We don't really have much in a lot of this price action, to be real. We could potentially see somewhat over there. Do we have anything? I mean, we have previous price action, I suppose. We had this gap. We had this gap, actually, which I don't know. I think okay, this is a weekly gap, to be fair. So what do we have? I suppose we have a weekly gap. There's a bit of a different story here between Ethereum and Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin's case, we hadn't printed through this gap, which was the kind of the main one we were talking about all that time ago. Ethereum, we're not that close to that area. But what I will say is with Ethereum, do we have some Bitcoin, actually? We kind of do. Bitcoin's case, we don't really have, because we have this inverted gap. I don't know why I haven't looked at this sooner. We have a kind of inverted gap here. Anyways, on Ethereum's case, we have a lot bigger of an inverted gap here. So we have this major gap here. You can see we've printed through it, and you can see we've kind of come to that midpoint here quite nicely. Again, we have wicked higher. Yes, we could zoom into the lower time frames and see where this is on the lower time frames. We have this little gap up here, for example, or smaller gap anyway. You can see we kind of came to that on the high. We have the major gap sitting around about here. You can see we've done pretty well, but we have printed outside of. So looking at the main weekly candle here anyway, we have this major gap we have printed through, and you can see we've used it as resistance quite strongly. So the difference here, like I think the resistance we have on Ethereum is a lot stronger on the above us than it is below us. Bitcoin's case, we did have weekly gap, we did have daily gap, we did have resistance there, which we used. Same story with Ethereum in terms of this local high here. But again, like I said, the difference being we do have this this area here of this gap. And obviously we do have this order block here, which we've obviously come into previously. So where are we sitting? Do we have support where we are? We are in this gap. We have hit into the midpoint of this gap, so we do have support here relative to the weekly. Daily, obviously, we don't really. I don't think we have much in this previous price action. We've come past lows, but we already came past this previously. We don't have much in the way of this area. We didn't come past a major low. We did have this low, to be fair, which we did come past. So I suppose we can argue that, but that low came past these and we still continued downwards. So in terms of this being a rejection block, we didn't come past a major low or do anything of the sorts. This was for a period an area of what could be supports. If we look at it on the candle body, we had it retrace, not print through it. We had the midpoint, I guess, but where we are right now, it's not really a valid. It's not really a strong. Oh yeah, this is a strong usage here. Technically we could look at the bottom end of this order block. We have used it twice before, but I don't know. It's not as obvious as Bitcoin as what I'd say on the daily. So from here, what would I argue? I'd just kind of really be looking at previous daily gap. Obviously, this gap, which kind of shrinks down to these two gaps, we are kind of used it three times now. It's kind of what I would look at. So we had that gap, and obviously we had this gap here. So you can see, we printed at the high of this one. We are printing kind of dead on the nose at the bottom of this one, not printing through it, which is a good sign for the way, obviously, back upwards. So we are at that. So we do have somewhat support on the daily. So we're kind of stacked between 2,780. So we do have support, I would argue. I'd argue we've hit an area of support. Let's go to the 4 hour quickly, though. So you can see we've kind of had this we've not really expanded. We've had the high to a low. We've come upwards above equilibrium. We've hit into a gap. Okay. We've then finally started to come downwards. But we've really not expanded downwards. We kind of had we kind of moved down. We had this rejection block, and mainly I think this is a balanced price range here, which we found support at again, had a really slow moment, and then had one expansive candle, which we can then see we've had a very nice move off. Because again, we're at the midpoint, pretty much at the midpoint of this weekly gap now. We've now started to have pretty expansive moves back upwards. And we're actually nearly putting above this candle. So same thing we have on Bitcoin, which is what I've been saying is we have support on daily, what is on Ethereum on the weekly. I would like to see that translate onto the lower time frames. We're at points of interest on the Bitcoin and Ethereum. If we can see Ethereum and Bitcoin print through their gaps here, there's not really much here. There's some highs here. So for example, at 2969 here, for example, this could be argued as some relatively equal highs. We could wick past this and come back downwards. But if we print through this gap, this will now be a support area in theory. Yes, I mean, arguably this is a balanced price range, which we could have paid attention to more, but I mean, like I did with Bitcoin, I'm just going to look at the balanced price range. So that anywhere in this range being support, which would be good. Again, we can go to the 1 hour and look at it in a bit more detail, for example. But you can see we're kind of expanding upwards. In terms of this move, you can see we've done pretty well in this regard. I think the main thing here, we haven't really had any... in this whole move, we didn't really have any periods of changing in any sort of state. And then obviously in this case, we had this massive down move, up close, and then we had this down close, and then we've started to print above it here. And importantly, printing through gaps here, which is a very important thing to do. So for example, if we can see kind of with this range here, we had not only this gap, but we were kind of also sitting, within this. We did print through it, actually. I'm actually not going to talk about that. We did print through it. But we had a gap anyway. We were printing through gaps, which is the main thing here. We printed through this gap, a very good sign, after coming from an area of support, an area of interest. Do we have anything back here which kind of backs this up? Well, we have these two down close, which results in that move past this low and then come upwards. So we do have this area here, which we can see is kind of what gets used here. So I'm just going to draw the top end of this as just a marker of where it starts anyway. Actually, I probably should draw the whole thing because I actually can't see where it starts and stops, to be fair. So I'm going to draw this candle out. There we go. Let me go back over here. There we go. So, oops. There you go. So we have 1 hour support, which... we are at weekly support as well. So we had the point of interest, which stops us from going downwards here, and then obviously we then reverse. So we have confluences. Okay, cool. We've just hit into a support area, and we've started to print through gaps. this is good news. And now this is when we start to come upwards pretty strongly, which is good. I'm gonna do that for now. So again, same thing here. I want it to continue. So again, if the 1 hour can keep doing what it's doing, the 4 hour will proceed. So for me, my opinion on what we have on the 4 hour, it's going to be printing through that gap. If we can print through this gap, that'll be strong support. If we can continue the move upwards, we could probably see a wick past these highs and then retracement back into this gap, which then allows us to potentially start to do a lower high or higher low, I should say, and then maybe start an uptrend to get up towards these areas, which would be in confluence with what we could want to see on the daily time frame, which is we've hit into this weekly gap. We've just came below this low, and we have printed, to be fair, so we are continuing this downtrend on the daily, but we haven't seen that main high to low retracement upwards into these massive gaps we've seen on the daily. We haven't seen that yet, so we could want to see this, and it's the same as what I've talked about on Bitcoin, so it's good confidence to have Bitcoin doing something similar to Ethereum and potentially doing something similar to what we have on Solana. So I would like to see that. I would like to see us print through that gap at 29,000, whatever it is. I would like to see us come up towards these 3,100 areas, or maybe into this, maybe even as high as the bounce price range at 3,171, which I have marked out here as well, for example. So we'll see. I'm gonna go to Solana because I do only have 15 minutes. So I do want to kind of speed it up a bit. I don't know what I last looked at, to be fair. It's ugly again. You know what? Even though this is really ugly, I bet this would look a lot better on light mode. To put it out there. So again, same thing. In terms of, we have the major low here. We only print through it in this move. So again, most recent high to most recent low, coming upwards into this gap, higher than this higher than the equilibrium as well. To be fair, main gap here is where we kind of come into. We actually hit directly into this previous gap, which we've inverted. So we had the inverted gap. It's technically a bounce price range. We have this candle and this candle overlapping. It actually is a bit lower, to be fair, if we want to get it more pinpoint, because it would be that low of this candle here. I'll just delete it. So this is a bounce price range, for example. This would be a bounce price range for that individual candle, to be fair. Anyway, we touched into that area. We touched into the major gap anyway. Doesn't matter. Came down, printed through this low. Very strong here. Now, we're not quite getting up towards 125 here. We haven't quite got through that. So in terms of to kind of change this move here, we would want to print through at least 12676 to really get into changing that flow. But what would be a good indicator, like I've been talking about, is printing through this gap, which we haven't quite done yet. This green area, I can't remember what it was actually. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's just go to daily. So same kind of concept. I'm gonna delete this for now. It's really getting messy. You know what? Should I just delete the whole thing? I don't know. I'm gonna delete this at least because we don't want this anymore because we've reversed. It would be somewhere towards 134, let's say, for this. We don't really have an inverted gap per se. We kind of have this small area, I suppose, here, which kind of sits through this print here, which you can see we kind of printed this gap, and then we kind of came back into it and pumped again, because obviously we were kind of in this uptrend. In terms of what we've done, it's the major gaps of this one here and this one down here. So I would like to see it obviously come into this area, but again, same conference. We want to see what's going on kind of across the board. So again, if Bitcoin is doing the same thing as Ethereum and Ethereum is doing something as Bitcoin as Solana, that would be good. So I'm going to look at the same thing. I'm going to try and look at the same thing I've been doing, which is what do we have in our previous price action, which could be considered a point of interest, which shows us we're at, what could be support. Well, we have this kind of down move here. These kind of down close, and then we have this up, and then we have this last down close before the pump upwards, and you can see if we draw this out, we kind of have that retracement back into this candle here. So I'm going to draw this out as a daily support point on the lower end of things. So where does this sit relative to okay, nowhere near us. So what can we do then? Well, this is technically a projection block, so we can expand this out as well. I don't want this to feel like I'm just square peg round holding this. It's like, oh look, oh how convenient. I'm using old price action, which I already know is correct. So we have the old block. We have proportion block. For example, it could be example. What do we also have here? Maybe inverted gap. I suppose we could draw this out. I suppose if we wanted to. This could kind of be something as well, kind of once before. I'll keep it drawn. Either way, the proportion block, we kind of come to that high end of it twice, which is good. So in terms of looking for support, really purposely trying to find something, we do technically have that. We do have an area there as an example. This area from a high to a low would probably be a mitigation block as well. I suppose we could draw that whole area out, but that's getting a bit big now. So I'm just going to look at the propulsion block for now. You know, there's quite a lot of different areas here which we could look at, but I'm just going to draw those two things for now. Anyways, coming to these areas. So we're at somewhat support. We are conceivably at support, I suppose, on the daily time frame that is as well. Let's go to the weekly though. I want to see what we have on the weekly. So mainly we have kind of these lows here, kind of relative equal lows, kind of coming through them here with these kind of down move here, and then actually this is the order block, to be fair. This is the whole thing which is in green. So this whole area in this range is going to be support. But this is getting a bit big on the weekly now. So let's go to the 4 hour, because that's what I did as well. I went to the 4 hour to look at support. So what do we have back behind us? We have this inverted gap which allows us to come into it in this last down move, and then we kind of print above at least this candle. So you can see that last candle kind of has it as support. So we kind of have that there. So the 4 hour, we have this. I think we're kind of printing through this now. So we had this, we've printed through it in this expansion. We kind of came up into this whole expansion area. We had a tiny bit of difficulty at that midpoint, but we've printed through it. So we could potentially see that as support as well. So we do have some supports, or now all of them being supports, where we are right now, 123, somewhat area over here, from this singular expansion, which we've printed the entire way through now. Because again, this is getting to, instead of this being a 4 hour resistance, because again, relative, the daily is going to have more say in the matter than a 4 hour is going to be. So these two highlights are or these three actually, I think this might be the weekly. These two highlights down here are both daily supports. This is a weekly support. This whole range down here, I believe, is on the weekly. I believe. Let me just go check actually. What is this actually? Oh, this is a portion block, of course. So yeah, this is the daily support. Yeah, these are both daily. Right, never mind. I'll add. These are both daily because there's only two. I'm stupid. They're all daily. Both daily, brilliant. So again, same concepts, I believe. Anyway, we have had support where we are. We've come upwards. We're trying to get to this 125.5 price to print through it. We're doing pretty well, I would say. We had this candle which printed through this this order block on the 4 hour. You can see we retrace back one more time towards that midpoint and then continue higher again. We're kind of at this midpoint here. We're just sitting towards this, or that high is just sitting at that high end of this gap here. So I do think we can continue this move upwards to try and print above this gap. We have this bounce price range below us, which we've seen on Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So I do think if we continue what we're doing with Solana, all things being equal, this would be good news for us to see that move upwards on the 4 hour to continue going higher. And this would obviously feed into the idea of what we have for the daily, which is us. Again, we've had this this move, which kind of printed below this low in terms of what could be a decent low, which we printed through some resistances. We've had this massive expansion, which we're only really seeing us print past major low here. I would argue we have this kind of fight here. We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, and the highs coming past these highs. So we do have this reversal spawning from this area. So the most extreme highs to the low to the high being this. We can see we've obviously had this massive expansion downwards and only just printed below that low here at 119. So this is obviously good news on the downtrend field of things, which allows us to look at the most recent high to most recent low, which is this expansion, which then we could look at the midpoint and higher, which is coming towards 135. We have previous support term resistance. Again, we had an order block here on the 4 hour maybe. You can see that midpoint being used really nicely at 135. This is also sitting on top of this resistance, so we have a breaker block plus this gap. So we kind of have we have some resistance in this area. So and this is obviously above 132, 133. So we have somewhere about 136 area, which could be good to look at for resistance. Obviously, we're at a daily support area. 4 hour looks good, like we could print through this gap. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to be saying probably the same thing across the board, because again, as of late, Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana anyway, again, aside from Serpent Crow, have been moving in unison pretty nicely, so I'm probably going to be continuing that until it stops working, I suppose. And they're pretty much all moving very similar, so I'm going to say the same thing, being this retracement on the daily would be a nice thing to see. And it's just really where those prices are going to be. So again, Bitcoin has 93, Ethereum it's 3175, whatever it was exactly. And Solana has this 135 area, 136, which could be good potentially to see as resistance, maybe. So we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm going to move to SERP now because again, I've only got 6 minutes. So I'm going to move on. What do we have? So we've been talking about this major gap on the weekly. I've got really itchy nose. I don't know how to stop it. Gap, retrace, resistance somewhere. Again, only goes to the daily to find a more pinpoint area. Same thing we were doing on Bitcoin and Ethereum, having that major area, looking at the lower time frame to find that kind of confidence at where the gaps are. Same thing we had with Bitcoin, where we had the 98k resistance, which was the major gap on the weekly, and then we had that smaller gap on the daily, which are at the same price basically, was good confidence. Same thing here, we have this major gap, then obviously as we go to the daily, we have two major gaps from that weekly expansion, which is this gap here, which you can see we saw resistance at, and we had this gap here, which we see resistance. So you can see this is actually very good price action because we have this massive expansion. It only stops until when we hit this first point, and then we kind of hover a bit, and then we expand one more time, only really stopping at this top end, and then obviously allow us to go back downwards. But the difference between this gap and this gap being we weren't at that equilibrium point yet. We had this expansion, we hadn't hit that equilibrium point, and then we hit the equilibrium point, and then we start to come downwards. So you can see from this price action, we have a low. We haven't printed past what could be arguable as the main low here, or it could be here. It depends, I suppose. We have these relative equal lows here. I would argue this is like the main low, and we have this hoverage and then come upwards. Either way, we have printed past some major lows here and an actual new low here, which is 131.11, whatever. So we have printed past that. So we are even though might not be the major low, it's good for momentum. It shows us, okay, cool, we've printed past a support point, we're printing past gaps, and we're printing past lows. This is a good sign to suggest we are continuing to go down. Obviously printing past this inverted gap. It could be a bounce price range if we look at it, but I don't really care. So the 4 hour as well, again, we're doing really well. Down-wise, we were doing really well, to be fair, because we have come past this. We haven't printed yet, but we have had really good price action. Equal lows. To be fair, this one we did print past this high and expand upwards and then come down, but obviously from this being us continuing this move downwards, it looks like it's really bad. But if we then expand this, to be fair, this one, actually I will say though, we hadn't really had these major lows being printed through here, arguably, but we haven't technically, I suppose we haven't really seen this expansion back upwards yet. Have we seen it here? We have seen one here, so it could be a similar scenario where in terms of I know this prints through all this, so it's I know it would be hypocritical and say one thing for one thing and another thing for something else, but either way, we're printing highs and lows. If we just ignore this as a dud, we had this area, we reversed it and used it as resistance, whatever. We then came down and we've done fine. Okay, I don't care. So we had this kind of rough scenario where we kind of came up and we didn't quite come down. But if we look at the range from the high to low coming upwards, the criteria is that most recent, is that major high to major low, which then prints through, which is going to be this. So from there, we have that range here. What do we have then for this range? Well, we could probably look at these. I just pressed the caps lock. There we go. We could look at these candles here, I suppose. We could look at the last up close before the down move, which would be there instead, which obviously comes into this gap area and then gets printed through. And you can see if we draw it out this area here, we can see we kind of retrace back into it here. Oh, it's probably better on the candle body, but we retrace back into this point here after printing through it, and then continue back downwards again towards some of these areas down here. This expansion downwards, to be fair, we come past some of these equal lows here, getting down here, and actually this low, this last low comes past some of these major lows back here and then expand. So obviously looking at the last kind of area back here, the candle body, again, sometimes I draw the candle body, sometimes I don't. It's probably better to look at the candle body. I think it is, but I don't care. Sometimes I draw either one. To drawing that last low before the move upwards, you can see we have that retracement back down, probably more through this expansive candle here, and then we actually use it as support here. But to actually get the full range, like I said, I'm going to go draw the low because that's what I normally do. So you can see the retrace back into it once more. Obviously, eventually printing through it because again we are in a downtrend. Either way, looking at the specifics doesn't matter. We have this high to a low and then retracement to this support, and we have printed through a low. So technically, even though it wasn't a major print through, if we compare what we're doing, we have had a global expansion downwards on the 4-hour, pretty much across the board. But with Syrup, we are printing past these lows pretty strong as well. And again, we've printed past the most recent low of this on the daily time frame. But like I said, we haven't really seen the retracement. Like these are technically lows. I think I'm looking more down here. We have this expansion. We have this low being printed for an actual low. We've kind of seen a straight line down. So I am going to draw out this. So I would be interested to see us maybe retrace once more. I could be wrong, but I would want to see us kind of retrace once more. If we can print where we are now on daily and print through this candle, the candle open at 33, this could be a good sign to start to go upwards again for Syrup. In terms of coming above this equilibrium, we've had previous gaps. We've had a singular gap here, which we haven't really seen. We obviously have this major gap we've seen already here, so we could potentially see something within this 36 range once more. We could probably look at the 4-hour and look at what we have on the 4-hour. We have some highs, I suppose. We have previous resistance in this last up close before this down move. We could potentially look at it having a resistance at this candle or at these candles. You could also argue you're coming past this high and then printing through it, having this as resistance here. So we have something at that midpoint which is above 36 cent, which is important. So 37 cent, we could see somewhat of a retracement. I think, well, actually, well, to be fair, in terms of what we have had this move. We have printed past this high, even though we do want to see that expansion back up to where we are right now. I think personally, what we have on the daily is we haven't seen that main retracement yet. So I'm not going to look at it on the 4-hour as we're definitely going to come down one more time to 30 cents. I think I'd rather see it come towards 37 cents, 36.5, to see resistance above us before we obviously continue back downwards. So that's kind of what I have on Syrup. But in terms of what we have on the major, I'm more than happy with what we have going on. We have this major move down, printing past the major low. We have a lower high coming to a main resistance point, and we've started to come back downwards. So I definitely am still targeting towards this 21 cent. I am still targeting. This is a very, very good price action. This is perfect price action here. So I'm very happy with what we have going on. So here we go. We'll see what we do. But 37 cent could be in the horizon. I definitely can see it, especially now with the 4-hour. We've printed through this gap, very important, which we've already seen. We printed through this local high, which is obviously very important as well. So we do have a somewhat of support on the 4-hour, but technically on the 4-hour, we probably want to look somewhat at this in terms of we are technically at this. We want to see this move up anyway because we want to see it go past equilibrium, but if this is good or not kind of sits on the fact that on the daily, I do think we want to go higher. So even though what we have on the 4-hour should be, we see resistance at 34 cent and go down again. On the daily, I do think we want to go a tiny bit higher before we go down again. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see where it goes. I need to speed up. I'll look at Crow very quickly. I'm just going to glance at it. I'm not a happy chappy when it comes to Crow. I don't like it. It hates me and I hate it. In terms of price action anyway. I'm not very good at Crow. Rejection block, we're kind of using it. We kind of printed through it because obviously it's on the daily. We've printed past some major lows on the 4-hour, which is never a good sign. We've only whipped past them just a bit. In terms of what we've got going on, again, I still wanted to see us go towards 10 cent, but will we see it? Again, we're still in the weekly support, is what I could say. What we're doing on the daily, let's see. So we had a low, we've whipped past it, and we've printed above the low, which is an alright sign. We have our main move down. We have this print through this low, which then produces this high. We have this low, this high area, which then prints here, and then we'll kind of come back upwards. So we could potentially, if we can get past 94, that would be a good sign for go upwards. So if we want to see that, what would we have to see? Well, we've seen a print through a gap on the 4-hour, which is a decent sign. As you can see, we printed through it here. You can see we use that midpoint there, and we're kind of hovering now. So we've technically used that, which is good. It's a good sign. In terms of what we have, we also have this balanced price range here, which again is just this gap, really. It's just that gap. But if we look at the inverted gap, we can see we're at that midpoint quite nicely. I guess, what is this? This is a different area. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we've been continuing downwards. I don't like looking at Crow in this regard. So in terms of what we had on the 1 hour relative, we had this gap here, which is kind of what orchestrated this high and low. So if we then zoom out, we can, this is what kind of that gap on the 1 hour is kind of what orchestrated this usage on the high before we came upwards, and then usage on the low, which we kind of have here. So we do have a resistance area. So not only do we have that, we also, as of right now anyway, have this balanced price range with that gap on the 1 hour and this main 4 hour gap, which actually, if we just do it on the 1 hours, will make it a bit easier, or make more sense. So it was this kind of main gap area here. And then looking at what we have here, what do we have in this expansion? Well, we kind of have this gap here, which I guess we could look at, but we didn't really hit into any of this anyway. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Whether that be cheating, I don't know. Technically, we did have it here. We had this this bounce price range, and then it sat into this. So this whole area is kind of a bounce price range, but you can see it starts to break down a bit then, because we don't really have... we kind of print through it and print through it again, you know, so it's a bit too tight, in my opinion. So I'm just going to keep the main gap drawn, you know, not to faff it up a bit. Keep the main gap drawn there, which then allows us to really look at it a bit better, where we can see we print through it and use it as resistance quite nicely at that midpoint. So in terms of what we have some positive price action where we are printing through that gap. We're kind of doing a bit better there. We are still at a bit of a resistance point, but again, this is a 4 hour gap. That is a 1 hour gap. This is a 4 hour gap, and we are seeing resistance. If we were to just draw a normal gap here, you can see we are still just using it as resistance, I suppose. So that is important. I think for me, I don't like Crow. I just can't bother to talk about it. It's just in terms of any coin I've been wrong the most on, and it's just gone not to what normal, it's Crow. I'm not gonna lie. Because again, if we go to the weekly, I'll really show you what it is. It's this. It's the fact that we are technically in an uptrend. Because if you really look at it, yes, we do have this high to low, and we didn't print. And this is the hard part, is we never printed through this low. We then expanded. We then never printed through this low. Even though we could wick past them, we just have all these equal lows here, and we never printed past anything. And again here, we never printed past the low. We come upwards and printed past this high, and then we come down, and we never printed past the low. So even though it looks like we've just done horrible price action, we've never really technically printed a low. So technically, this is all just one big uptrend. But we have massive expansion upwards, and then we have a massive expansion downwards. So again, the difference here being if we printed past 7844, that would be the terminating factor. But on the weekly, if we were to print past 11.5 cents and start to go back upwards, I could expect us to see that massive retracement, and then this is obviously, it feels wrong to say, but want us to go up to 40 cents. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I don't like Crow, because it's just the worst price action you've ever seen in your life, and I don't like looking at it, and I don't want to look at it, but I have to. So there you go. So here, I guess, we have a print through this gap, same as what we've got going on across the board, kind of. We're using it as support. We're at this thing. I don't know. I think this is an order block. We printed through it, and then we came through it again. So is it really a strong support? No, but I have it drawn. So, do you know what I mean? Like, we're stuck between a support and a resistance. So are we going to go up or go down? Well, what do we have on the daily? We haven't... I don't know, man. I don't like it. I just don't like it. What do we have? Well, we printed higher, and then we didn't print higher, so we started the downtrend from this. So it would be this. So realistically, either way, I don't care what we have, because we started this downtrend from this high, from failing to get up, printing through what I would consider a decent... Because again, this is on the daily here. This is a considerable low. And then we have this lower high and then lower low. So technically, regardless of what I'm talking about, I'm just going to skip ahead here. We have a high to a low. We want to see it go past 9.6. We want to see it come up towards some of these areas. It's going to be 9.7 or 10 cent. So there you go. Screw off. I hate everyone. I hate this. I hate Crow. I hate everything. I'm going back to light mode. I hate this chart. Whatever. Okay, I don't hate you guys. I got annoyed at this chart. Okay. I apologize. Either way, I am... A smooth, cool 10 minutes over the 9 o'clock time. So there you go. Ignore that logo there. That's just it's just a glitch on the camera. It's not actually supposed to be there. That's it from me. I'm in smooth fashion, professional fashion, You know, my hour is an hour and a half. That's just how I live. Okay, our time zone. We live in a unique place. Okay, where you all live by the 1 hour times, but we actually move in an hour and a half intervals. So when I translate the hour, it kind of like transpiles into relating to me an hour and a half. So I'm actually early, because if our hour's an hour and a half, and I'm on an hour and 10 right now, I'm actually early. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back there. I've ended it in within an hour. I know I'm going too crazy. I'm gonna start smashing things. I'm going too angry. No, I don't like Crow. I like Crypto.com. I can't say that because I'm on Binance Square. I love Binance. And I love everybody. There you go. I love every platform. Everyone's great, and there's no allegiance. I don't like or hate anybody. I'm just with everybody. Everyone's really happy. Either way, that's Crow, and that's Syrup and Binance. Syrup. What am I talking about? It's hit the mark now. I'm losing it. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Syrup, and Crow is what I wanted to say. Those are the coins. I'm done now. I might try and change the theme back to light mode, because I miss it. You know, I think I miss it. I'll trial it out. I think. I don't know. I might. I don't know. I think I'll do light mode, but I'll do like a blue light, or like a blue light's bad for your eyes, isn't it? I might try to do like a yellow white, where it's like you've drunk like 2 liters of water in like an hour and a half, and you've just gone to the toilet, and it's just about a tint of yellow. Do you know what I mean? Because that would be better for your eyes than just plain white, I think. So I might try that. I don't want to blast all your eyes with white. I don't want to blast my eyes with all white. So I think that's what I might do. I think. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be back on Thursday anyway, so you'll see if I've changed it or not. I think I will. I don't have the same comprehension. I've not been on the same wavelength as I normally am. Again, I get things wrong, I get things right. This is what it is, okay? But I feel like I want to try the light mode again. I want to go back to it. I can comprehend it better. So anyways, thank you everyone on YouTube. Thank you everyone on Binance Square. What is this guy saying? Take it easy. Life's are good, but crypto no is all live. Yes, I agree. I know you have many emotions, reactions, especially for smashing. I'm joking. Korea, I'm joking. I'm not smashing. Don't worry. I'm not smashing anything. I was joking. Don't worry. I'm not gonna smash something. I think I am gonna go back to the light side. I can't. I don't like the dark. Because if I'm looking at the stream right now. It looks nice, you know. Because I've made the background of TradingView the same color as the UI color. So everything's kind of unified, which is nice. And I like the UI, but I think I might make everything white. I might make the sidebar white. I might make the color white. Make the text black. But I won't make it a horrible white where it's bad for your eyes. I'll make it a bit more yellow white where it removes the blue light. I think is what I'll do. Because then that's better for you. So I'll probably do that, and it'll be better for me as well. So that's what I'm gonna try. So you'll see that by Thursday. But that's not a problem. Use emotionally state exactly. You're saying it right, man. You're saying it right. Don't worry. I am cool, calm, and collected. No. I'll be back on Wednesday for the stream where people on Binance Square, you can actually play the quiz. This is groundbreaking technology. Okay, we've expanded. We are on YouTube, we're on Twitch, and we're on Square. In terms of, is there a benefit to being on any platform? I think they all come in because what's thankful for, thank God, that each respective chat, they pile in a timestamp. I was going on about this last stream. They pile a timestamp in with the message on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Binance Square. So no matter what platform you're on, as soon as you send that message and it gets read by the server, that's the time I read. So there's no like, oh, it's better to be on Twitch because it's faster to read the chat. Just be where you want. But it means we can stream on multiple places and play the game at the same time. But it means for you guys on YouTube, you've got some more competition. So yes, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes on. I don't understand about airdrop. We sometimes do red packets, but we don't really have a airdrop thing going on. But unfortunately, I would love to help you, but it is the end of the stream because I've managed to extend the outro by however many minutes. So I do need to stop talking. So thank you. Appreciate you all. Okay. You might see me in some videos. I'm trying to pick up some more videos now. I'm getting back into it. Obviously, New Year. I was trying to get into the streaming. I was doing some stuff off camera. Like the quiz and whatnot, and some other projects. But you'll see me in some videos and whatnot. The In the Trenches with Alex recording on the 3rd of February. So this will obviously be after. Obviously, after the majority of the pack stuff has happened. I did make a video actually, which is in Telegram, about looking at the pack chart and the differences between Moon and pack, and the benefit of pack and why it's probably better than Moon as of right now in terms of there's no sell pressure. Basically, the only thing you can do with pack now is buy it and hold it. So it's pretty good. It's a very free market in terms of it's just a buy. It's literally just a direct trade of buying and selling pack. Like you can't do any. You can just buy it. So that's basically what the video is anyway. So yeah, that is. You'll see me in some videos. You'll see me when I have Telegram open, which sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't have it open. When I restart my computer, it doesn't. I should have it on auto open, to be fair. But either way, you'll see me on Wednesday and you'll see me on Thursday. If you don't like quizzes and you hate the quiz, just see me on Thursday. Okay. Don't breathe emotional status. Breathe. It's all okay. No what? Don't worry, man. Don't worry. I am okay. I am lying when I say I am angry. Don't worry. One of us, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The fight between black and white, and there's one of us. I don't know what's going on here. This is starting to get a bit freaky here. I'm getting out of here. Thank you, all of you. I will see you on Wednesday. See you in Telegram. See you in videos. See you on Thursday. Goodbye.